Thank you, Jen. We're going to now welcome Richard Godwin.
Two anecdotes. The one first personal, and the second less so. A dear friend who for many years taught 19th century British literature and read a great deal of poetry, never taught poetry. I asked him once why. After consideration, he said, "Poetry frightens me." James McMichael's poetry frightens me. The second, drawn from Walter Benjamin's The Arcade Project, under the heading of On the Question of the Incompleteness of History. Benjamin cites a letter from Horkheimer to Adorno in March 1937, in which Horkheimer, troubled by Adorno's fascination with incompleteness, tried to insist that certain things were complete. This is how he argued. The determination of incompleteness is idealistic if completeness is not comprised within it. Past injustice has occurred and is completed. The slain are really slain. Benjamin, needing the notion of incompleteness, glosses the letter as follows. Mindfulness can make the incomplete happiness. For Horkheimer, happiness is transient and therefore is past. Mindfulness can make the incomplete happiness into something complete, and the complete suffering, for Horkheimer the fact of death, into something incomplete. Another way of putting this might be Bloch's insistence of Brecht. The Brecht's first sentence, best sentence, is something is missing. Needing that notion of something is missing, the incompleteness within the complete, in 1940 rather desperately, in Theses on the Philosophy of History, written obviously in a very dark time, when the whole notion of a complete history, the Thousand-Year Reich, seemed so available and insistent. Benjamin made a case for what he called materialist historiography. He argued that proper history occurs as an image leaping into the mind of a man at a moment of danger. His point presumably meant a man threatened by the state. That image would affect what Benjamin calls a complete cessation of thought. It would be a shock. And that cessation would be the moment of new capabilities within history. Such moments, he said, would lift the era out of the eon, the work out of the life work. They would be an opening in time, such as revolution, the tigers leap into the blue. That opening in time he likened to a weak messianism, the moment of the Messiah, a straight gate for the Messiah. One way, he said, to think about that was that the historian has a responsibility not to think about the future, not to think about the unborn children, but to think about the dead grandparents. That is, the forms of life that they were not allowed, which might change the current forms of life. That notion is, I think, redemptive, and it insists upon mindfulness. Maybe that kind of mindfulness is caught by one of Adorno's favoured accounts of the image. Adorno liked images which, he said, wear in the lines of their face the marks of their own construction. That is, in their completeness, you can see how they might be made incomplete. There will be an opening of capabilities, an opening of possibilities. I speak as though I have a tract in my mouth, which may seem inappropriate at such a moment. And yet, the listing of philosophers seems necessary because of the company this poet and his poetry keep. Necessary or keep? Company he keeps. Perhaps not the company he keeps, but the company he requires. Not through citation, reference, or even allusion, but through the process of his thought. The process of felt thought. To talk about his thought would be too abstract. There is a sense in which we are feeling as we read, feeling towards thought, in Ricoeur's sense of feeling as an idea coming into existence. Let me give you an instance and then try and respond to this work. This is from Capacity. It's from the second section above the red deep water clothes. I need my glasses. The poem is addressing the formation of waves and their relationship to geological formations. Before it can be taken as a thing, as sea, there have to have been readied for it other possible if then denied pronouncements. Land, the sky. Possible that somewhere in the midst of waters there could be such a thing as might be walked on. Hornblende and felsite, quartzite, remnant raised beach platforms, shales, a cliff-foot screen. Until given back accountably as extant and encountered, nothing counts. Nothing counts until, by reason it is brought to stand still. Country. That it stands over, against one stands to reason. Not without reason is it said of country that it counters one's feet. To count as groundwork for a claim about the ground, reason must equate with country. To be claimed as that, as country, sand blown inland from the dunes must equal its having landed grain by grain. All grains have their whereabouts. A couple of things to note among very many things. Hornblende, and I had to look these up, hornblende, an isomorphous mix of three molecules, not recognised as a mineral in its own right. Felsite, a fine-grained volcanic rock, often having a high degree of crystallization, a matrix of felsic materials. Quartzite, a metamorphic rock, formerly sandstone, subject to heating through tectonic compression. Mix, matrix, metamorphosis, shale, scree. These are all rocks that are not quite a hard place. They are assemblages immanent with their own disassemblage. How aptly then that they form a country which, because of the repetition of the word count, in accountably, encountered, nothing counts. The very word country, a single sentence, becomes two words. It becomes a split referent. It is a count that tries to become a country. We are then told that it stands over. Against one stands to reason. The break, which is also a verse break, foregrounds the preposition over and against, which begins the line after the break. Prepositions are words that organise relationships. What that break does, so difficult to read, is make us consider that relationships are not complete, that they might be made another way. Consequently, when one comes across the line, all grains have their whereabouts, which is a single sentence coming after a verse break, whereabouts becomes truly interesting. It is a form of preposition, but it antonymically present in that usage is whereabouts unknown. And if whereabouts unknown are a mode of addressing a country, then one must also ask the question, whereabouts? That's to split the word, whereabouts. Now, the country that is a whereabouts, whereabout is it? About, it functions also as a statement of purpose and content. Something is about something. But that where, which is only about, cannot form as a country other than as an effort of trying. So it at once becomes complete and is immanent with its own incompleteness. One of the things that's very noticeable in